So hypothesis testing 2 is the null and alternative hypothesis. So in the 4 steps in the outline, our first step is going to be to make a statement regarding the population mean or the population proportion. So we're going to start with that. So again, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypotheses are the 2 hypotheses we talk about in hypothesis testing. The null hypothesis is talking about no change. It's written H sub 0, and all the textbooks I've read say it's H naught, but I've never heard a human say H naught, so we go with H 0. Means no change, no effect, no difference. It's saying that the mean stays the same or the proportion stays the same. So I call it the same. There's no change, no difference. Everything's the same. The alternative hypothesis is written H1, and it's the statement we're trying to gather the evidence to support, saying the population parameter is greater than, less than, or not equal to the value stated in the null hypothesis. I call this the claim. So you have the same and the claim. Null hypothesis is no change. We write it with an equal sign. The alternative hypothesis is the one that's written with a greater than, a less than, or not equal to. And it's where we're saying, no, we think things are different, and now we're going to gather evidence to prove it. So let's look back at these examples we talked about earlier. Example 1, the hypothesis test for the mean. According to the Nielsen Company, an adult person in the US spends approximately 10 hours, 39 minutes each day on screen time. So that was 639 minutes as a mean. It's believed that students in your community college spend more time on screens each day than 639 minutes. So we use a survey that asked 25 students to record their screen time and record a mean screen time of 655 and a standard deviation of 41 minutes. Is it unusual enough to provide sufficient evidence that the screen time of your students, your community college, is more than that recorded for adults in the US? So here's our example. Our null hypothesis says the mean is 639 minutes. So that's what you're given from the population. If nothing has changed, then our mean is 639 minutes. But we think for community college students, it's more than 639 minutes. So our alternative, H1, says the mean is greater than 639, and this is our claim. So H0 and H1 don't get equal signs with them. They're just labels for the 2 hypotheses. The null hypothesis that the mean is 639, and the alternative that the mean is greater than 639. So we're going to try to find evidence to prove that the mean actually is greater than 639. And for the other example, according to the national census, 24.5% of all US residents who live in renter-occupied housing units lived elsewhere 1 year prior. Because needing to move while attending school is believed to negatively impact student success, your community college decides to learn if the rate of moving is less for its students. So a random sample of 1,004 students results in 228 who've moved. Is this unusual enough to provide sufficient evidence that the rate of moving is less than the national rate of 24.5%? So our null hypothesis goes with the population that is given to us of 24.5%, and we write it as a decimal, 0.245. So that's our null. But our claim is that it's actually less than 0.245, and that's our alternative hypothesis. Okay, so just I put those separate to find it easy to look at the null and alternative if you're having trouble with that.